And welcome to the Parenting with Confidence podcast. I am your host, Teresa Alexander Inman, board certified behavior analyst and infant toddler developmental specialist. Today, I am so excited to have Tiffany Vaughan as my guest, and she'll be sharing all kinds of amazing things with us. But before, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about Tiffany. She starts off here by saying, everyone has a story, a hard, beautiful journey, but it's what you do with that story that defines who you are. Do you keep it buried inside or share it with the world? Using your voice can be scary. It can shine a spotlight on where you feel most vulnerable. Being rejected or lack of reciprocity, using your voice and being vulnerable can be your roadmap to deeper healing. I love that. And that's why I wanted to read this part because, it's people don't realize how therapeutic using your voice is.
Oh, yeah.
Tiff is the host of the podcast, Hard, Beautiful Journey. She shares how she discovered her mess, that her mess is her message, and how by using her voice, she ignited her soul, setting in motion a still unfolding spiritual awakening. Welcome, 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 Tiffany.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, it's an absolute honor. When you said yes, I was like, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, parents need you. As a parent yourself, I know your journey has been hard and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to share some of that with them because we all go through that journey. Like you said, everybody has a hard, beautiful journey, a hard, beautiful story. And some of us, we remain there because we don't know how to get out of it. Right? We remain, like I just played the victim a little bit ago because I'm like, Zoom doesn't like me. I'm playing the victim. So let's come out. So I've come out of that victim mode. And I want to help parents come out of that mode as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start with the fact that you have 3 children, correct?
Yes, 3.
And all of them have a diagnosis.
All 3 of them, yeah.
Okay, I don't like that word that starts with dis. So, because it's just a diagnosis, it doesn't mean that your child's abilities are any less than anybody else's.
Nope.
So, and you also had some mental health challenges.
Oh, yes.
Now, that's a lot to deal with when you have 3 children with diagnoses and mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Just dive in and help somebody who's where you were. Just give them some lifelines. How did you overcome your struggles and how did you do that while having 3 children?
Okay. Well, I always have to go back to where it originally started, my mental health challenge and why it is my hard, beautiful journey, our hard, beautiful journey. My husband and I, we struggled to start a family to begin with. We had a 10-year infertility battle. And to get the 3 kids that we do have, we had to use IVF, and it took 10 years to get all 3 of them. And that was just a really hard thing to go through, not only on yourself, but with your marriage. And at the same time that I was going through these fertility treatments and taking all of these fertility drugs, I was also going to school in the evenings to become a professional accountant. And so I was working full time, going to school at night, and also doing fertility treatments to try and have a child. And that just ended up being the start of my first mental health breakdown. I had a very challenging time in the 8th year of my 10-year journey through school. And I went to therapy then, and I'm really grateful that I did, because if I didn't, I know I wouldn't be here right now. So we have our kids, which was a blessing. We have a daughter who is now 13, and we have twin boys that are 9. And it was challenging. Twins are challenging. The first year was, I always joke that it is a good thing I have photos because I don't really remember much of the first year at all. It's just an absolute blur. And so the first 2 years with a small child and 2 twins was madness. And we actually had to hire a live-in nanny based on where we were living because there wasn't a lot of childcare options in the area. And she was an angel because we would go to work during the day. We were both professionals, and we would come home and they would be in their pajamas, all bathed, and life was great. And then she moved on to another family about 2.5 years after being with us. She's still a huge part of our family, but that highlighted how much of an angel she actually was. And we had to put them into childcare facilities, and we started getting write-ups on the daily that there was some behavior issues, and you name it, we got them. We got called every single day pretty much. And that's when I just started documenting everything. I kept all of the records, and I went to our doctor and said, okay, what's going on here? And that's when we got the diagnosis of ADHD and ODD for all 3 of them. And that's when I became a mama bear, ADHD mama bear. I needed to know exactly what was going on. And I did. And I learned so many things, so many strategies, which are very helpful. And they absolutely changed and helped our parenting in those moments. But it also contributed to another huge mental health breakdown in 2018, because if you know ADHD, it can be challenging if you don't take care of yourself. And I was not taking care of myself. I was 110% focused on my kids and what they needed and how to help them. And I completely disregarded myself. And I found myself one day, because they're loud. Our children are very loud. I love them to pieces, but they're very loud. And I found myself in our closet hiding behind clothes, trying to get away from my children so they couldn't find me, because I was done. Like my brain, my everything, my spirit, everything was done. And it was actually behind those clothes where I thought about ending my life, because I was done. I was completely exhausted, and I was very, very angry at God in that moment behind those clothes, because it took 10 years to get them and a very hard battle to get them, not just for me, but for my husband. And then now we were challenged with parenting them. And I was just like, what? Why? Like, why is this happening to us? Like, we're good people. And my husband and I would just keep looking at each other, and we'd be like, what did we do? What did we do to deserve this? You know what I mean? Because every day was pretty challenging in the parenting world for us. And it was behind those clothes in the closet where I said, okay, I need help. I need to go to a therapist again. And I'm so glad I did. I reached out, and my daughter was actually in the process of going to play therapy. And the therapist that she was seeing I just really resonated with her. I just connected with her. And she was also a therapist for adults. So it's like, I need you in my life. And her name was Jenna. And I call her, she's one of my good friends now. I call her my Jenna. And she really, really helped helped me in that time. And I spent countless hours with her, which I'm super grateful that I had the ability to spend that time with her. And in one of our sessions, she said, you're supposed to be doing something with this, right? There's no reason that you are going through all of this if you're not supposed to help others with it. So what are you going to do with it? And because I was at a better place, I said, well, I was thinking of writing a book, and that's been on my heart for a long time to write a book. And then I decided I'm going to start a podcast and talk about my hard, beautiful journey. And now I'm in season 5, and it's been incredible. So that's a little bit about my hard, beautiful journey and where I got to.
Wow, that is, oh my gosh, my heart just, breaks for Tiffany back then.
Mm-hmm.
That just, I honestly saw you in that closet and just imagining what you were going through. Because I've worked with parents with children with ADHD, but none of them have 3 children with ADHD, maybe 1 or 2, but all 3. So you had no balancing child, I should say. It was just all in. My goodness. But a friend of mine, Timothy Stutz, says you always get the children that you need, not the children that you want.
Exactly. And that's your mess is your message. And that is, honestly, when I heard those words, I was like, okay, well, I got a mess for you. And when I started my podcast, I honestly thought, I told my husband, I said, and let me back up. When I decided to start a podcast and talk about our family and our journey, I absolutely got his, approval, and that he was okay with sharing it. And absolutely he was, because he knew that it would also help others. Right. And so I said, I think I'm going to take 4, maybe 5 episodes to get our story out there. And so and if it doesn't go any further, it doesn't go any further. And so that's what I did. And the first 4 episodes are pretty much what I said, but way more detail. And then episode 5, I brought in James and got his perspective on what the last 4 episodes were about. And so you can kind of hear both sides of the story. And then from there, I had some episodes about ADHD and what I've learned, and some strategies and what works for us, what doesn't work for us. And yeah, it's been a really just very enjoyable part of my life to talk with more people about the struggles that they've been through. And it just really makes me realize every time I interview somebody that we are all the same. We are more alike than not alike. And we might have different homes and we might have different communities, but there's so many similarities, and just helping everybody understand that you're not alone is what my goal is.
Wonderful. And I'm so glad that you share strategies in your podcast, because parents need to hear from other parents. I'm a parent, yes, but I'm not the parent of a child with autism or ADHD. I mean, we fostered a child with the ADHD, but it's a little different. That was temporary. And you realize, though, the importance of self-care, because when I tell them it's important to care for yourself, they're like, oh, you don't know, you haven't been in my shoes, you don't understand, I get all the excuses. And then you come along, thank you, Tiffany, and talk about, your journey and how challenging it was because you didn't take care of yourself. And because, like I said, it's just so people don't understand. Often the parents that I've spoken to, because they don't think that I understand, I've got to keep doing this, I've got to keep doing that. And it's just like, yes, but at what cost? You're not present for your children. You're barely available to yourself. Like, when last did you shower? You're so busy, you fell asleep last night. You have no idea what the day was like. It was a blur. So, which means you're not enjoying your children. You're not in the moment. So I want to ask you, for the parents out there who want to know, how do you take care of yourself? What do you prioritize? What do you do for yourself?
Well, I do a lot, and I actually, in 2018, when I had my mental health breakdown, the first thing that I did is and not everybody can do this, but I found a lady that she was having a mama's retreat for moms of ADHD kids. And I got on a plane and I went and I sat on a beach, and that's where I really realized I need help. I need to find support. I need to find community. I need to find people that get me. And that was the first step that I took, because I was banging my head against the wall because I was trying to have these conversations about my parenting struggles with people that didn't have the same challenge as me. And that was part of my issue, is I was getting angry that nobody really understood what I was going through. And that was really hurting my mental health. I actually had one of my best friends and I got into a very, very bad disagreement because of the situation. And we didn't talk for about a year because I got mad at her for not understanding what I was going through. It wasn't her fault. She didn't have kids with ADHD, but that was the first thing that I did, is I made a really concerted effort to find people that really knew what I was going through and really talk to them.
Wonderful. Now, for the person who, first of all, like you acknowledge, cannot afford a retreat, or it's not available, or they live in a rural community, do you have any suggestions as to how they can build that community?
Absolutely. Facebook is one of the places that I went to, and there's a lot of ADHD support groups for moms specifically, or like there's all kinds. If you have one child with ADHD or two, or I also read some books, but I definitely found the most support in Facebook groups, and just actually some local groups where there's other parents with ADHD kids, even at the school. Like I definitely became familiar with other parents that were dealing with this at our school. And I guess I'm actually used to be an introvert. Like you couldn't get a word out of me. And I don't know what happened with this ADHD thing in this podcasting world, but I just made the decision to start talking and really asking other people what they were going through, because I was desperate. And I'm so grateful for that desperation, because I've met so many great people that are also going through the same thing as me.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, because yes, it's when we get to the end of our rope that we search and we seek and we try to find. But I just want to implore parents, beg you, don't wait till you're at the end of your rope, because you don't want a mental breakdown. It's doing your children a disservice. So from the moment befriend some people at your children's school, when you go to pick your children up or whatever it is, just try to, go to, what do you call it? Open house.
Yep.
Get to know parents.
You even ask your principal or your kid's teacher. Is there any other families that are like, they can't necessarily, it's privacy stuff, right? But there's ways of finding out, even just at pickup. You can tell who is struggling. You can see it in their eyes. You can see it in their face. And there's times where I'm even at a grocery store and I know what's going on with another parent, and I'll just give them the smile, the reassuring, you're okay. I got you.
Yes. And they need that, because so often they get that judgmental look, like, why aren't you doing better? Like, why are you letting your child, and not understanding what's happening. I just tell parents, ignore them, because listen, 10 years down the line, if you don't do what you're doing right now, then you should be embarrassed because you didn't do your due diligence in the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
so right now, since I went to therapy, and that's when I actually started meditating as well. I have a squirrel brain. And when I was introduced to meditation, I thought, never, ever will I be able to do that for more than like 30 seconds. And I definitely know how to meditate now, and it has absolutely changed my life. The other thing that has absolutely changed my life is gratitude and gratitude journaling. And I do it every single day. And it's in the first thing in the morning when I'm having my coffee, I do gratitude journaling. And I don't just do superficial. Not superficial, but I love my coffee. I'm grateful for my coffee. I'm grateful for my apple. Like I get to the why. Why am I grateful for this? Why am I grateful for that? And that really started to highlight, even in these really crappy days, there is always, always, always something to be grateful for. Always.
Yes, absolutely. And, we say in behavior analysis, where your focus grows, behavior grows. So it's really, so if you focus on gratitude, then you will actually, you come from a place of empowerment, first of all. So it's not like you're down here, minus something and saying, oh, woe is me, this, another day I have to drag myself and do this and that. If you wake up with gratitude and go to bed with gratitude, it just helps you not, even though, yes, those things will happen, but you don't go down to minus whatever. You may go down to like a 2 or 3 from a 10, but, it will help you remain above that 0.
And actually, since I started focusing on gratitude, this was actually just slightly before the diagnosis that we got, but it was I'm grateful for my coffee, like those kind of things. Right. And then when we got that, that's when I was like, okay, I need to really focus on the good, or I'm not going to come out of this. And when I started doing it, I actually started including our kids too. And at dinner, we would go around the table and say what we're grateful for. And now there's times where like if we're busy and we're in a rush or whatever, one of our kids will be like, whoa, 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 we didn't do grateful yet. We can't go anywhere. And I'm like, what? This is so cool. And we were actually at our table last week, and my nephew and his girlfriend were in town, and same thing, we were going to get up and we hadn't done it yet. And my son was like, oh no, we got to do gratitude. And my nephew and his girlfriend were so surprised, but they were like, this is awesome. And so it definitely has helped them as well reframe some things that might be hard during their day to really, okay, well, I still have this going on and this is still good.
That honestly gave me goosebumps. It's so great. It just, it shows the power of when you teach your children, then they start to teach you, which is wonderful. And it actually takes the pressure of you, because now they're empowered. They're taking ownership for something, which makes them feel good.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is wonderful. So I'm going to go back to meditation. How do you meditate? Help parents, figure out, how do you do it? Maybe share that with them so they can maybe start.
Sure. Well, it started out, like I said, 30 seconds. And I just kept saying, like, why is this so hard? Why can't I like just concentrate? And it always comes down to me to breath. And just when I try to calm myself and not think of anything, then a thought comes into my head. And then I always just come back to, okay, breathe, just breathe, take your time, breathe. And I started out at 30 seconds. Then I would get to a minute. And if I got to a minute, great. And I didn't beat myself up. And I just was like, okay, thank you for allowing me to have that minute. Right. And again, back to gratitude. And it built from there. And I think it was and there will be a time when you do start meditating where you do get to that, oh, this is what this is about, where you're like, okay, I feel that sense of peace that you cannot, I don't even know how to accurately describe it. But when you get there, you're like, I want more of that, where I am so calm and so just like your whole nervous system just completely, it feels like it resets. And then you're like, okay, I am good now. And then you come out of your meditation, and I honestly am a way better mom since I started doing this, because when I come out of a meditation session, my nervous system is reset, and I feel like I can handle anything. And if I come out and they're screaming or they're yelling or they're fighting, I'm like, okay, I am just going to remove myself and I'm going to go outside, or, you know what I mean? But it definitely helps with the nerves and the calmness and all of that.
Nice. Now, are there any meditations that you'd recommend, or what type of meditation do you do, just to, put a guiding light on there?
There's so many actually on YouTube for sure. But Zen 12, I don't know if Zen 12 is a really good starting point, I think. And I think it's quite inexpensive as well if you want to buy that. Like, there's tons of meditations in this program, and they go from very basic to advanced, but I would definitely start even on YouTube. There's a lot of free resources on YouTube for all kinds of meditations.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. And it's like you said, it's a free resource. So parents, please go ahead and try it, because I can tell you, for me, it was when I started meditating that I became better at what I do, because I was more present. I work with children with ADHD and ODD and all those other diagnoses in the school district, which means, yes, there are times I've got, scars on my arm, and I've been bitten and punched and kicked and slapped and spit on. And with meditation, I'm able to think, this is a baby crying out for help. Instead of before that, I had to remove myself, because then I was triggered and I wasn't able to help my student through what their struggle. I wasn't present. I couldn't be, because I'm like, I just don't want to go to jail today. I don't want to hit anybody back. Like, Jesus, help me, please. Like, literally, I would be praying. And then at one point I started just singing, praise music in my head, just to be there, but not engage and keep myself calm. Then I started meditating, and it's just like, well, I mean, I still sing my music, and sometimes I sing it out loud.
Yeah.
And then, because then it redirects them.
Yes, it does. It redirects you and them.
Exactly. So I will just start singing. I remember one little guy, he was in kindergarten. And I started singing, and he said, my auntie sings that song. Immediately turned around.
Yeah.
And
the other one is laughter. Yeah, for sure. Laughter. If it just happened the other day where one of my guys was having a tough time, and I don't know what happened, but I made him laugh. And then it turned into like the three of us like all three kids and me were in the vehicle and it just became this laugh, like the uncontrollable laugh.
Yeah.
And it just reset everybody. And then we were good. So whatever you can find to redirect is definitely helpful.
Absolutely. And if you can also teach your children to meditate, that would be great, because then you can remind them to take a deep breath. Now, of course, we don't do that when they're triggered. We wait till they're calm and we work on meditation, because children will become you, like with the gratitude. They became you, which is so awesome. So let's teach our children these skills so that they can self-regulate, because if we're always helping them regulate, that's a problem, because we're not always going to be with them. If we can give them the tools to do so, then we're empowering them. And they feel so good when they can come and say, Mom, I did it, or Dad, I did it. Like, there's nothing more powerful. So don't rob them of that feeling.
The one day I was in my room, normally I meditate in my office and in my meditation space. And but the one day I was meditating on my bed, and my son was on the bed reading a book. And I opened my eyes, and there he was, sitting with his legs crossed and doing his own meditation. And I was like, oh, wow. So he definitely was doing the same. And then I let him do his thing. And then when he was done, I said, how was that, buddy? And he was like, that was amazing. So like, even just seeing me doing it, and I don't think it's just seeing me doing it, but seeing how I am after is what is resonating with them.
Yeah. And children are so observant. Oh no, they don't know. Yeah, they notice. They notice everything.
Everything.
So, yeah. So let's do it. Because if you had told them, oh, let's go meditate, they might be like, oh, Mom, I don't know. But if they see you do it, then they're more likely to engage and get with it. So, Miss Tiffany, I want to thank you so much for being here. Now, before we sign off, is there any last words that you want to give to our parents?
Well, first of all, if you're dealing with like the same kind of challenges that I have dealt with, please check out my podcast. Season 1 has a lot of what we've talked about. And there's some episodes on specifically ADHD. And I just want parents that are struggling just to know that they are not alone. And you can get through it. But please, honestly, the most important thing is take care of yourself first, because I learned it the hard way that if you don't, you could end up behind the clothes in your closet and doing something that you never thought you would do in those moments of desperation. So don't get to that point, or if you are at that point, reach out for help, because it is there. And there are people there that will support you.
Wonderful. And let's, remove the stigma from all of that. Help is essential, because if you don't get help, again, not only are you doing yourself a disservice, but you're doing your child a disservice. You're not giving them the best of you. So please.
And also the other thing too is, I've noticed there are some parents that just refuse to admit that their child needs help, or there's something there. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with ADHD. There's nothing wrong with autism. There's nothing wrong with it. But just getting your child assessed or help gives them so much more opportunity to have a really, really good experience in life and school and everything.
Yes, because those, getting the help will teach them how to manage themselves. It will really get them in touch with who they are. So, a lot of parents, especially, I hear it with children with autism. Well, I don't want to change your personalities. We're not trying to change your child's personality. We're trying to bring out the best in them.
Exactly.
We're trying to help get through all the stuff so that they can see how awesome they are. Because underneath all of that is an amazing, beautiful child, just wanting, crying, and that's what their behaviors are. They're screaming for help. So avail them of that help. Get them the help that they need so that you can see how amazing, like you can see the skills, you can see them really show up.
Yeah. It's not a reflection of you or your parenting. And I think that's what I would encourage people to understand is just because the behaviors are there, it's not your parenting. It's them needing to be not harnessed. You know what I mean? The words
supported and
guided.
Yeah.
Guided. Yes. And to bring out those beautiful things inside that are just waiting.
Yes. And let me tell you, after parents have gotten help, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I waited. Get it as soon as possible. If you notice there's, if you're not comfortable with something very early in your child's life, get them tested, do all the things. It's better to know, and it's better to start early.
Absolutely.
And I also want to direct everybody to heartbeautifuljourney.com. Please go there and, let Tiffany help you. Let her guide you, because she's a mom who has been there, who is there. So please let her help you. Okay. heartbeautifuljourney.com. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's been an honor. And maybe we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, there's always so much to talk about. So
much.
Yes. Thank you.